Hey everybody, it's Eric live alongside Rod, and welcome to the Fanduel postgame show where we're going to talk about MSU's game against the USC Trojans. As MSU looked to avenge its loss to last year in Los Angeles, Michigan State won 80-51 over the Trojans. Once again, the Izzone Alumni comes through and helped MSU cover the spread. I'm not sure exactly how many games in a row it's been, but it's, I think, double digits at this point where Michigan State covers the spread.
Yeah, I saw that today as well. Yeah,
in the Izzone Alumni game. Line opened at 9.5 points, and Michigan State easily covered that. And I think it even moved up to 11.5, but Spartans, of course, with almost a 30-point win. Moral of the story, when it's an Izzone Alumni game, always take MSU in the points. And the next game is also an Izzone Alumni game against Northwestern. So, there's your bit of advice. Special thanks again to Michael Yoakum for his one-time donation via PayPal. If you want to support the show, head on over to our support page, tffinots.com/support. To get the necessary links, be sure to like and subscribe to us on your podcast player and on YouTube. Please drop us a line if you're on live with us. We appreciate interacting with us. Tell us where you're watching from. So as far as the game goes, the first half started rough. Michigan State really had a lot of trouble on offense. 5-0 USC lead, and then it was pretty much over. Wheels came off. Michigan State shut them down, finished on a 33-12 run to finish the half, up 33-17. Really just crushed USC's will, and that was kind of the game at that point. The second half was pretty much played to a draw, although I guess Michigan State extended the lead out to 29 to finish the game. It was a little interesting the second half. A fan got ejected for yelling something stupid to the ref. I'm not sure what he yelled.
Let me stop you there. Not a fan. That was Paul Davis.
Oh, it was Paul Davis.
It was Paul Davis.
I thought he looked familiar. Oh.
And what he said reportedly, I have seen this on social media. If it's accurate, he should have been tossed.
Yeah.
It was very personal and unwarranted. And apparently he was, he had a few, reportedly.
Yeah. I thought that was, whoever that was probably going to be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not good. That's why, on the one hand, I could see someone saying, well, Izzo would react that way to anybody. But I think especially when it's a former player, that you could see why he was as upset as he was.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. He did look a little familiar. That totally explains it. So, quick little game summary as far as statistically, Michigan State did not shoot the three very well. The Breslin curse kind of holds. Of course, USC shot even worse. The rebounding was not great. It was okay. Got a little much better improved in the second half, but really got the transition game going. 25 points the break, off a lot of turnovers from USC, but even not just the turnovers, it kind of were just getting rolling. So overall, a good bounce back win for Michigan State. Kind of what you expected. This is not a game I was super worried about, but weird things can happen, and they definitely got the message from what happened in Lincoln, and they looked pretty good. Although you certainly came away with the game thinking there's a lot more there that they could have had, but because it's not like USC was really putting up a lot of resistance. But, ultimately 30-point win is a 30-point win. You can't be upset with that.
That's right. I think it's for me, what made me happy about this game, I'm almost happier that they didn't shoot threes well tonight. And of course I want to see them shoot well every night. But what I mean by that is lately, I think that's covered up some other warts offensively. It's the only reason they were really in the game in Lincoln, to be honest.
Right.
So when I look at the stats, if I've got the right numbers here, Michigan State was 23 for 38 on twos.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. That's what you need to have happen. Defensively, which to be fair has not been a problem. I mean, they had a brief period in December where I didn't think they were defending very well, but they were actually very good defensively in Lincoln. That was not an issue. And they were outstanding defensively tonight, just outstanding. Yeah, USC was pretty terrible. Doesn't matter. That's a team that is a quality, solid Big Ten opponent. I don't know if they're going to be a tournament team or not. We've talked about it. They're one of many that are kind of to me are sitting on one side or the other of the fence, but they're right up against it, but they've got offensive capability, and Michigan State shut them down. Now, I don't know what was going on with Chad Baker-Mazara. I do not have an why he didn't start, why he only played whatever it was. I think it was 17 minutes.
Played 23 minutes, I think, or right around there.
No, it wasn't that much. 17 minutes.
17 minutes, yeah, not even less.
17 minutes. We spent all the time in the preview talking about this is a guy who is as important to his team as anybody individually with the way USC is set up right now. And they don't start him. They don't put, but you know what? When he came in the game, he immediately gave you a pretty good indication why. Turnovers.
Threw it away.
Two
turnovers.
Bang, bang.
Yeah.
If now, not being there, neither one of us were there. Right. So we can't speak to it, but I trust LaFonso Ellis when he said that Baker-Mazara's body language was horrible, because I saw it in the Michigan game. I think I mentioned that.
Yeah, right.
So I have no difficulty. I just didn't happen to see it on camera, but I believe it. And if the reason that he didn't play nearly as much as he usually does is that Eric Musselman decided that he was going to send a message, congrats to Eric Musselman, because I didn't think he had that in him. I don't think of Eric Musselman as that kind of guy. In fact, I think of him at the other end. He's a guy, he has to be, because he signed Baker-Mazara.
Right.
Everybody knows the deal. It worked out mostly for Auburn because Auburn had enough of a structure. They had enough guys that obviously gave a crap about winning that they kept him mostly in line. He'd have the occasional lunatic moment, but for the most part, they kept him in line. And at USC, I don't know who the hell is going to do that. So again, if that's why, then, and I kind of feel like it has to be, because there's no basketball reason you would do this.
Did look like he looked healthy. I mean,
so yeah. I don't think it was an illness or anything. I mean, we'll see if he says something, but assuming we're right about that, then it had to be sending him a message, and hats off to Musselman for that. Because I didn't think, like I said, I didn't think he had it in him, but it certainly made it that much more difficult for USC to get anything done on offense. We just had a comment you put up, somebody that was there. Can you flash it again? I didn't see it.
Sure. Yeah. Said it was Ehart's Hoops 55 said was at the game. He looked exhausted almost immediately. It overall looked like he wasn't having it.
Maybe that sounds like maybe there was a health reason. We'll see. We'll see if Musselman says anything. But regardless, I mean, even if it is a health reason, if you're gonna say I'm gonna play, sorry, man, you gotta find it. You gotta find it in you to do a little more than that. So that definitely hurt USC, but I'm not going to take away from what Michigan State did defensively, because I thought they guarded really, really well. So to me, the way they guarded, the way they ran, the way they shot twos, and then individually, they didn't play perfect games, but I was really happy overall with the games that we got from Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears. That's the way those guys need to play. And mostly, what is that about? Well, that's about getting the ball near the basket, not settling. In Jeremy's case, well, both of them actually, it's also about being offensively aggressive. And they were. I loved the way Cohen played, especially in the second half.
Once he got off that first 4 or 5 minute stretch where he was getting baited into those threes, then he started, especially the second half, he really started attacking. And, that's always there for him. I mean, he's so athletic. Occasionally he's going to turn the ball over, but he's so strong. He can get in there and, of course, athletic,
It's that plus I want to take a look here at, that's what I thought. 4 offensive rebounds. I was on Jack Ebling's show this afternoon, and he asked me what I would do if I was, with Cohen Carr. What do I think the Michigan State coaching staff is doing? I said, to me, it's a pretty obvious answer. He needs to be a guy who plays with his hair on fire. And I used somebody like Brandon Dawson as an example of the kind of mentality that I think he needs to play with. And he did that, especially in the second half. I mean, 4 offensive rebounds. I haven't checked. That's probably a season high for him, I'm going to assume. That is the Cohen Carr we need to see. A Cohen Carr who's doing that, who's going to be aggressive and persistent in looking to get the ball near the rim. And if mixed into that is the occasional jumper, and if he's not hitting them, I mean, he's got to take some, I think, just to try however he can to keep people honest. The results were not good in that respect today, but I didn't care.
It got better in the second half,
Yeah. Well, he hit the 1-3 and he did hit one long range,
mid-range. Yep.
Yeah. So that was good, but just that's the way he needs to play. And Jeremy, same thing, getting downhill, looking to attack, taking those floaters that are there. I mean, again, he was 0 for 3 on threes, and I thought the shots looked a little flat again. The 2 in a row that he took were flat. I don't care. That's the kind of basketball we need from those guys. And I thought they were both pretty good defensively. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for as much people complain about Cohen Carr, I mean, he did finish with 18 points, and 6 for 14 is not terrible as far as efficiency. I mean, because he put a bunch of threes early. But let's talk before we get to about the change of rotation. We saw this. We had Divine start again, so he's back from his illness, and he stayed out there. He left early. He was like the first sub with about 2 minutes into the game,
right? And
then he comes back and he plays a point. So it looks like maybe things are get back a little bit different. There's a lot of Denham Wojcik, but then again, this game was a little bit out of hand, even late in the first half. I mean, it was an opportunity to sort of steal some minutes. And Denham actually, he did okay out there, Yeah,
well, he had one great defensive moment, led to a basket. Yeah. I don't take much from Denham playing 7 minutes for the reason you just suggested. He did get a turn early in the second half, and I think he got a minute in the first half. I was okay with that. Because of the situations, it is situational. If you've got a substantial lead, okay. And I do think what they were trying pretty clearly to emphasize was limiting Jeremy's minutes a bit. Jeremy ended up playing 28 minutes. It was 14 in each half. I don't know if that's exactly what they want to do. I would think they probably can get it a tick higher than that, but not much. Maybe you limit it like 30. I really liked, I don't know how Izzo feels about it. I really liked that initial shift at point that Divine played. I thought he looked good. He had the one great lob to Cooper. I thought he looked solid. He was aggressive. The offense was clicking. No complaints, 0. So to me, it passed the test. That's not the test that matters, though. There's only one test that matters. And I don't know how Izzo feels about it, but I am encouraged anytime I'm seeing any point guard minutes for Divine. So that was really good to see. And maybe it does suggest that there's a little bit of a turn coming here. We'll find out.
Yeah, and he hit a 3. I mean, in a day where about everyone struggled except one guy, Jackson Kohler. It almost feels like he's just at the gym just practicing. The guy is, I don't even know if he's hit rim in like 2 games. He's been just fantastic from basically anywhere on the court. It's been crazy.
Yeah. 16 points and 8
perfect
rebounds.
6 for 6, 3 for 3 from the field.
Yeah. And 1 for 1 at the line. Didn't miss a shot. Only played 24 minutes because of foul trouble.
Right.
I mean, that robbed him of his chance to have whatever it would have been consecutive double-doubles.
Yeah. 2 assists as well.
And God knows how many points he would have ended up with. But yeah, right now, Jackson Kohler is as good a 3-point shooter as there is anywhere. I mean, I'd say that's a pretty
3%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to think about, certainly among big men. I mean, beyond a shadow of a doubt, among post players, he's as good as it gets. But I think you can probably extrapolate from that and say with anybody, Now it's a little different in that he's going to be a little more reliant on his team to get him those looks. I thought Jeremy did a very good job doing that on those pick and pops.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you say? I mean, he just really impressive stuff from him offensively. The one moment that didn't go so well was one later in the game where he got the ball down low and he was surrounded and he just wouldn't give in. And I guess that didn't count as a shot. That ended up being a turnover. Must have been a turnover.
Right. Yeah.
And then he and Izzo had it out on the sidelines. But that was a very standard senior player versus Izzo kind of conversation.
Yeah, that's no big deal.
It was great. No, it was great. I love seeing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just his shooting right now, especially from range. Because remember, the first shot he hit was basically like, I don't know, 16, 17 footer face up as well. So he's just dialed in incredibly well right now.
54% right now for the season
really
from three.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know how long.
I
can't
remember,
finish over 50, you think? I don't know. I can't remember the last player to finish over 50. When did Forbes finish?
That's no, Forbes never broke 50.
He had more volume too, though.
There's never been anybody with real shooter volume. I mean, Nick Ward, I think, might have been at 50, if I remember correctly.
He was 100. I think he's 1 for 1 in his career.
Was he? Okay. Well,
yeah, the hand
there's
grenade.
never been anybody with real volume. Even Sean Respert didn't do it.
Yeah.
High 40s, I think. I'm pretty sure that's right, is the best he ever shot. But look, you could say, well, Forbes and Respert and guys like that took more threes than Jackson. Absolutely. That's true.
Yeah.
But Jackson is not a low volume guy either.
No,
it's legitimate. I remember people, and I don't know whether we had the conversation or whether I've just seen others raise it, who had suggested at the start of the year, well, can Jackson be what Joey Hauser was his last year? And I kind of dismissed that because I just thought, no, Jackson's a good shooter, but I don't think he's quite that. And Joey could do it in different ways. Joey had all the same pick and pop. He could also catch off the curl.
Yeah.
You catch coming off a pick. But you know what? Now, we haven't seen Jackson do that, and I don't know that we will. But I don't know that he's ever going to be quite the volume that Joey was. I'd have to look at it to see where Joey ended up that year. I suspect it was a higher volume. But, man, he is right there. I mean, you could talk about anybody they've had at that position. You know, Goran Sutan, who's on that bench, was a guy. AJ Granger, Adam Ballinger. I mean, they've had a ton of them.
Yeah.
Draymond Green at the power forward who are shooting threats. But right now, Jackson Kohler is shooting it as well as anybody ever has for Michigan State. That's just the bottom line. So
and that's,
very impressive from him.
Right. And that's the kind of player and the sort of one you expect when Michigan State has their deep runs in the NCAA tournament. You have guys like that.
Absolutely.
Where he's got a 4 who can just punish you.
Absolutely.
So very encouraging.
There, you know, that's a line that I know at Spartan Mag, they've really hammered for years, which is the MSU offense gets hamstrung to a really a somewhat debilitating degree when Izzo doesn't have a 4-man who can do those kind of things. And, you know, I think there is at least a little bit of truth to that. And the way you know is he makes it a point of recruiting guys who can do that or can develop into that. I mean, Jackson wasn't this when he was a freshman or a sophomore, but we started to really see it last year. And now, boy, you just got to be really, really excited. Because as you say, that kind of weapon is critical when you're talking about, you know, contending for championships in the Big Ten or going on deep runs. To have a guy who could step up and make those shots. And we've seen Jackson do it. I mean, Jackson's already had some big performances in big games this year. I mean, he was the guy who kept him in it against Nebraska.
In Nebraska. Yeah, 5. Yeah.
So my recollection is he had a very good shooting game against Kentucky.
Everyone did.
And look. Yeah, but I'd have to go back and look to see how he performed in all of those games. But my anecdotal sense is he's been very good against the better opponents for the most part. So yeah, really encouraging. And then I just think, if we're going over individual, I thought Carson Cooper, even though the numbers are not eye popping, I thought that's the best he's played in a while. And I did want to say something about that because I was a little critical of the way he's been playing defensively. And I think that's accurate. But I did hear that reportedly he had a bout of COVID. And the coaching staff has been of the opinion that it's taken some of his conditioning away a little bit. And that is probably, it seems to me, that's probably a contributor to why he hasn't been quite as good. But I thought he looked pretty damn good defensively tonight.
Yeah.
So USC has some big guys that can shoot. So he was definitely part of that. He was also a big part of them just walling up and absolutely shutting down any kind of penetration game USC trying to have with their guards. So I was really happy to see him the way he played. I thought Cam Ward continued to look better. 6 rebounds tonight. If you'd taken him, you would have had a blowout. I
know someone who wishes he'd taken him instead of Cooper.
Well, no, it would have been a push. Cohen had 6. I guess I wish I would have taken him instead of Cooper.
Instead of Cooper,
But you'd never do that.
No.
But I thought Cam, and obviously the one basket he had was very, very impressive. That was the Cam Ward we were seeing up until the Carolina game. So that was encouraging. I guess you can go through the rest of the guys.
Kurt Tang, 8 points, 4 for 8 from the field, didn't hit any threes, but was able to get some, a lot of twos, obviously. 5 rebounds in just 18 minutes, and a steal. He's starting to look more comfortable.
I liked his game tonight.
Like he doesn't feel, you don't get the feeling he's rushed to shoot, like he's got to get shot in because he's not going to have another opportunity. It's within the flow of the offense.
What I really like from him, and we've been seeing it more and more lately, is when he knows people are cognizant of him as a shooter on the arc, right? Yep. And his shot fake and dribbling into a long 2, which the analytics guys will say is a mistake, but if you hit that shot, that's a good shot. And he hit some tonight, and I really like that from him. It's showing that, as you say, he's not rushing, feeling like he's got to force some stuff up. He's playing within himself. So I liked what we saw from him tonight. I thought 5 rebounds too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, I know that's very impressive.
It's good stuff. I thought he hung in there okay defensively.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, Jordan Scott, once again, his usual good game. I mean, it's just different sort of the way he contributes. Today, he's more of a scorer, 8 points, 3 or 5, efficient, 2 for 4 from behind the arc, 3 rebounds, one of them offensive, a couple turnovers, 1 assist, but, stealing a block in just 18 minutes. So once again, he is just disruptive defensively, and I love his size out there. He really causes some problems. And I think he was in that first wave of substitutions after Michigan State was really just stuck in the mud that first 3-4 minutes. And kind of helped get him going. I'm assuming he's the best plus minus in the team, but I don't have that in front of me. But I know he was +9 early in the first half, so I think.
Yeah, and he guarded Baker Mazzara very well. I thought.
Yep.
He had a decent amount of time. Cohen was guarding him also, but I thought he looked really good guarding him, and that was actually I was struck by it because it made me think as I was watching the game, this is the matchup you want for him. Right now, Jordan maybe had a little trouble. I thought he had his worst defensive game of the year against Nebraska. I thought because he ended up guarding Sam Hoiberg a lot. And that was just not a good match for him. That kind of player. And it's not that Sam Hoiberg is some kind of world-beating athlete, but just at his size and the way he plays, it just seemed to really give Jordan some trouble. Baker Mazzara is obviously a much, much more talented guy, than Hoiberg, but it strikes me as a little bit of an easier matchup for Jordan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was both the freshmen I was really happy with. I mean, I thought both he and Cam had really, really nice games. After, we haven't seen either one of them. They've been doing things. It's not that they've been getting nothing from them, but this was the best joint performance from those guys in a while, in my opinion.
Yeah, someone just mentioned Alien Space that Scott and Sanford would have been a better matchup, except Sanford was out the first half, right? I mean, that was part of the problem in some respects because you had sort of a savvy veteran, Hoiberg,
and remember they were forced into some stuff that they probably would not have chosen to do because of Divine's absence.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that played into it. I'm just saying it struck me because it was such an unusual game in that it was the only time all year that I felt like, Jordan's not really making a defensive impact here. So it was really good to see him bounce back. And as you say, he was also hitting shots. He was aggressive. I loved his 2-point shot. As great as it is to see him hit the 2 threes, that was another one where, if I remember correctly, shot fake into a jumper and drained it. And looked smooth and assertive and confident doing it. He's absolutely, I mean, at this point, I have zero concerns about him as a shooter. It doesn't mean he's going to hit every shot, but whatever the confidence issues might have been going on early are out the window now. I mean, to me, that's a guy, the way he is now, you just say, if there's an open shot, take it. And he doesn't hesitate. He does not hesitate.
Yeah, he's only taking good shots generally. Trey Ford, 8 minutes, no points, 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 1 from the from 3, had a turnover. He's got to figure things out, and they're certainly going to give him opportunities too, because I still think he'll have opportunities for a month or two to try and find a way to get back in the rotation. He very much reminds me of Fiddler, who just sort of fell out of the rotation and then found a role and worked his way back in where he's playing meaningful minutes. And I think that's where Trey Ford's got to move, because I don't see him obviously starting at this point or playing the bulk of the minutes at the 2, but I think he can contribute in some way, but he's just got to find himself somehow.
To me, tonight was a little bit of a step back. I thought he'd actually been playing a little better. He was better against Cornell. I thought he was decent against Nebraska. Not great, but decent. I thought tonight was a step back. I didn't think there was really anything he did particularly well. He had one really bad turnover. And it's tough to say, because when your minutes are limited, I understand it. I'm sure he's feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. Like, he's got to make something happen to justify and it's tough to play that way. That's what I mean when I'm talking about Jordan Scott. To me, Jordan Scott looks like he's gotten past all of that. If it was ever there, I think it was probably there early with the shot making. But Jordan Scott's past that. Divine Ugochukwu was past that. Like, those guys have gotten past that. Kurtang has passed that. Trey isn't. Yeah.
He feels a little bit like a walk-on, just where, when you have an open, you just take the shot. I mean, it's your first opportunity because you may not get another chance. And he's just got to stop pressing a little bit.
He's a very unusual player in this program. We're not used to having guys like this, because Michigan State traditionally does not have guys that kind of hunt shots and take bad shots. I mean, every once in a while you might see one, but it's a rare thing. And Trey Ford his shot selection is very un-Michigan State-like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm rooting for him. I thought he was really, based on what I had been kind of told to expect, I thought he was great personality-wise when we had him on the show this summer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Interview. So I'm rooting for him to find it. It would obviously be a huge boost to Michigan State, because he could be a guy, at least theoretically, that could give them an offensive boost in ways that they can use. But, right now, it's going to be tough, because I think he is going to largely be limited to those short stints. And then, as I was just talking about, that he's going into those feeling some kind of internal pressure to do something, make something happen. That's a hard way to live. It's a hard way to play the game.
I think the evidence that he's a good kid, or whatever you want to say, he meshes well with the team, he does what the coaches want, is the fact that they're still giving him opportunities. I think by this point of the season, a couple years ago when Pierre Brooks on the seat, you just didn't see him anymore. There are a number of players who just completely disappear. And the fact that he's getting more opportunities is a sign that they see stuff in practice. They see things that they just want him to, like you said, they see them as potentially helpful down the road. He certainly bought into things. He just has to kind of try and figure it out. And it's just hard in Michigan State system to come in just 1 year if you're play a certain way your whole career and just totally change.
It is. And, we have seen guys do it, but it's hard.
Yeah. I mean,
it is.
Frankly,
it's a difficult thing. And
the defense is so hard at Michigan State.
I think a lot of us, and I'll raise my hand to this, kind of got suckered in again to the talk, but it was talk. It wasn't just looking at Moneyball games. I was hearing there was a lot of stuff coming out of the program this summer that he was looking very, very good offensively, but I think the reason he's still getting shots is chances. I should say is that from everything I've heard, they feel really good about his desire. He wants to do the right things. It's a hard thing to undo all the years of different systems he's been in, different expectations, different standards. And that's hard to undo in a really short period of time. Yeah.
Finally, McCullough 0 for 3 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, had a rebound, had a block, played 11 minutes, actually played quite a bit to have kind of a empty-ish stat sheet. I think he struggled a little bit this game. I don't know.
He did. His worst game in quite a while. Because I really like the way Jesse's played. I really do. If anything, I felt like, and I think I said this our last episode, our last post game at least, I feel like he should be getting more minutes. That's how I felt.
Yeah, right.
But it just wasn't there tonight. And the 0 for 3 is not the part. The biggest thing was there was a play where USC ended up with an and one. Their big kid who was doing all the damage, really all the damage, got there, and Jesse was late in his reaction. And, that'll be the things that will limit him is what it's not the 0 for 3, because the shots he took were fine. He's hit that hook shot before. He was just a little short with it. I think he missed a 3. He's been shooting, I think, plus 50% on 3. So you're okay with the shots he took. It was defensively, he wasn't as good as he needs to be tonight, but he'll learn from it. Yeah.
And someone just mentioned, Bryn Forbes is a transfer who's obviously really good coming in. But I think the point of Bryn Forbes is he really transformed his second year. I don't think it was his first year. And that's sort of like a Tyson Walker thing where the first year, kind of like, wow, this guy looks like he's a potential, but it doesn't seem to quite fit in.
It wasn't, and it was a tick better than Tyson in this sense. By the time, remember that his first year was the year they went to the Final Four. By the time that part of the season rolled around, Bryn had started to get it. But early on, absolutely, there were defensive issues. There's no question. And you're totally right, where he really put it together. And that's the case for most of the guys they've had. Joey Hauser was really the third year, right? Tyson Walker's another example of that. The only guy I can think of, the only two guys that I thought were pretty much immediately good in their roles, like the first and only year they played, Zamon Zapala, obviously a very limited role, but I thought
different sort of role. Yep.
He was, but in his role, he was ready to give them what they needed. Yeah. And the first one really of the Izzone, I guess I should say the first one because they had Mike Chappelle early on, but Brandon Wood, who, if in case people don't remember, was a starter on the 2012 Big Ten championship team that Draymond Green was the leader of. Brandon Wood transferred in from Valpo. It was a double-digit scorer, started, played big minutes, was a big, significant addition for that team. They probably would have been one guard short if they hadn't have added him. So he's the biggest and really only exception I can think of, who just immediately stepped in and got it done.
Yeah.
It's hard to do at Michigan State.
Yeah, I think that with the defensive expectations and just the way they play, I think that makes it hard. And I think that will definitely affect your offensive game, which I think is what's happening to Trey Ford. I think he's spending so much mental energy trying to kind of do the right thing on defense and be, help the right times and switch. I think he's just having a lot of trouble that it affects him on the other end. I don't know. That's just my feel. Who knows?
No, I think you're right.
And then finally, I guess we'll just talk just briefly. Dumb Wojcik, 2 points. He had his layup, and then 2 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals in just 7 minutes. Played pretty good, I think. And
it was okay.
If we see, that's what we want from him. I think the emergency sort of mop up time kind of minutes.
I'm okay. Well, take the mop up time out of it. Like the first half when it was still a game to be played. I'm okay if they want to use him, like get him a minute or two in a way that, around media timeouts,
right,
to preserve Jeremy's minutes. I'm okay with that. It's the 4 or 5 minute stints that I think are tough.
It's like, I know you've said in the past, sometimes your players, they're great for about 2-3 minutes, and then they get less great. They get more exposed as time goes on. Diminishing returns.
Absolutely.
The classic cheddar problem, right, for Michigan. All right, so let's talk a little bit about gutters. And Michigan State had a player keeping the gutter was Chad Baker-Mazara, and Michigan State absolutely 100% kept CBM in the gutter. And someone just mentioned earlier that they kept him in the sewer, which is probably more accurate. But if you want to make sure your gutters are functioning properly and you keep stuff in the gutter that belongs there and to drain away from your house, make sure you contact the Brothers Adjust Your Gutters. They do fantastic work. 10% off. You mentioned Final Four. When you get your estimate, you can do that at our support page. The Final Four is on theschedule.com/support. Not only will they get out nowadays, but they'll clean out those gutters if they're not already cleaned. They can put leaf guards on so you don't have trouble in the spring and the fall. They can also make sure that anything that's leaking can be fixed. And they can even put on heaters so you don't have the ice dam buildups on your gutters as well. So make sure you call the Brothers Adjust Your Gutters. So I, of course, didn't put anything on the slide. I totally messed up here. So Chad, but basically you can just imagine a bunch of zeros here. So I apologize to that, folks. When you look at get this, sorry about that. So Mazara finished with only 4 points, 2 for 6 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, had 1 rebound, 2 assists, 3 turnovers, a block, 18 minutes. Partly was defended by the bench, but that was, I saw the whole attitude problem that you talked about before. He had that 1 turnover where he threw it away, and it was kind of like blaming the guy he was throwing to, which it wasn't a great pass. I mean, it was kind of close to him. Maybe the guy could have made the catch. I don't remember who it was, but not good body language. And then, those are the kind of games you could say it's because he played poorly, and that's true. But also makes you say made sure he played poorly, never got into rhythm and kind of got going, which I'm sure Musselman was hoping some bench time. Maybe then he'll get going, and they just never give him an opportunity.
I think that we're talking about a 3-man effort that or 3-element effort that kept him in the gutter tonight. One was definitely Michigan State. I don't want to sell our guys short.
Sure.
But Eric Musselman and Chad Baker-Mazara were also contributors. I mean, that was an awful, never in my life. I thought it was possible and in fact important for Michigan State to make him an inefficient player. But I never thought we would see this. This was so far off because he's such a critical part of their offensive attack. Like, you saw what happens when he's not part of it and he's not scoring. They score 50 some points.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's a USC problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, very, very thoroughly swamp water deep in the gutter.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on in Musselman, but I mean, you can't take too much out of it because they definitely had a different team before the injuries and a much more competitive team. And now they just look, I mean, part of it, boy, they sure look like they're joking. They need to get out of the state of Michigan, but they just need to get home. And I tell you what, that trip to Minneapolis, Medved's got that team playing okay. And Minnesota is not, they're not great, but they've caught 2 teams already this year out of 3 tries.
I'm absolutely shocked that they've got 2 wins already. But yeah, good for them. And it does tell you something about who Nico Medved is, because that is a talent devoid team. Trust me.
So moving on to someone who has plenty of talent, and that's the Squeegee Squad of Grand Rapids. If you need your windows cleaned, contact the Squeegee Squad today, whether you're in Grand Rapids or Grand Rapids adjacent, any of the counties around. Even if you're up north in Traverse City area, give Troy a call. He might be able to take care of you, clean those windows. His region hopefully is going to be expanding pretty soon. But get a hold of them today. You can go do that at our support page, of course, at the Final Four is now theschedule.com/support. Or if you're lazy, tffinots.com/support. You get 15% off by just mentioning Final Four when you get your estimate. So contribute today to clean your windows and whatever it might be. If it's got a window, the Squeegee Squad can take care of it. No matter how high off it is from the ground, just make sure you stay off the ladders, especially this time of year. And they are out right now doing those windows. So this was a really tight one for competition for Cleans Glass Best. I ended up tying it up with 7-7 by just 1 rebound. So Jackson Kohler with 8, Jordan Scott with 3, and then you had Coop and Carr who had 4 and 6 respectively.
Let me tell you something.
It was
one that made the decision.
I know.
I was not happy. Well, no, it was
wasn't airball that went to Scott?
No, it was Cam Ward. No, Cam Ward. I think it was Cam Ward, but somebody inside that wasn't Jackson Kohler.
Yes, yeah.
Got their hands on it, and it kicked out toward the sideline, and Jordan ended up with the rebound. That was the one that decided it. But yeah, well, I mean, on a non-Kohler day, boy, I was really feeling like, okay, I can at least get a tie here, but not to be.
Yeah, I was watching the game here, and telling my family, a tie is a loss if you got Kohler. That is right. You can't afford to lose those. I do enjoy the fact that we care this much about this competition when Michigan State's winning that bet. So that you're actually you can just completely kind of zone out a little bit and just focus on rebounding. My family is much more into that than I am. I usually not paying any attention until I check the halftime stats or something like that. But they were locked in, give me a rebound by rebound stat. So then we go to Nudge Printing at nudgeprinting.com. If you've not yet, there's still time. Go to nudgeprinting.com/win. There you can enter for the month drawing for the Tiff Knots green hoodie. It's really sweet. It's obviously a free drawing. Go there today. You can also, while you're there, go to our Slido at our poll at hashtag TFFIONTS, and there you can vote for who you think Michigan State's player of the game is. And I tell you what, Nudge Printing has got great stuff. They had a great year. They sold in all 50 states, and they are still looking for someone to help them with the design of a new hat because their hats are some of their best sellers. So if you've got an idea, just send it to the contact at Nudge Printing. All right, so keys to the game. The first key to the game is rebounding. Michigan State with a 39-30 overall edge, 10-8 offensive rebounding edge for a 33% offensive rebounding rate. Their defensive rebounding rate was once again fantastic, which is why they're number 1 in the country. USC was just with 22%. But from a second chance standpoint, I mean, we had expected Michigan State to dominate this a little bit better, and they did not really. They had a 10-8 edge, 33% offensive rebounding rate for a team that's been averaging in the 40s. Not too good. And this is a team that you should have been able to do a little bit more on.
No, I'm seeing 6-6 on second chance points. Yeah, 6-6.
Oh yeah, you are. I was 6-6. So
even worse. Yeah, that's the disappointing. That's the disappointing thing. Now, and some of that was I don't think they hit a single 3 off kickouts from offensive rebounds all night, and they had a lot of them. Yeah, I think they had at least 3 or 4, maybe more. Spears had
2 in that one possession, I think.
Right. Yeah. So that'll hurt you, but not second straight game that the offensive rebounding. I mentioned I was on Jack Ebeling's show this afternoon, and he had raised a point, which is true, which is that, part of the reason Michigan State's defensive rebounding numbers are as good as they are, a little bit of it at least, is that teams are just basically abdicating trying to get offensive rebounds because they're so concerned about the transition game. Well, that didn't really play out that way tonight, but That's not where I'm disappointed. I thought Michigan State's defensive rebounding was really good, again, as it always is. The offensive rebounding, I think that there are two ways that Michigan State can really get a boost in terms of their 2-point production. One way is transition points, because you're getting layups or dunks, right? For the most part. Occasionally get a 3, but for the most part, that's what you're getting. The other way is putbacks, those second chance points we talk about. And only have 6 second chance points on 10 offensive rebounds. That's, to me, the bare minimum is as many points as offensive rebounds. And they were 4 short. Yeah. So got to do a better job there. And, some of it, admittedly, is that, their big men are not the kind of guys who are just physical monsters. I mean, they're strong guys, and Cam Ward, I think, can become this, and we'll probably see more of it as he continues to get back and get used to that wrist brace. But, Jackson and Carson are not those, master blaster types around the rim who just, their physicality shows up in a lot of ways, but it doesn't show up in that way typically, where they can just get an offensive rebound, use their body to create some room and finish. And Jackson's always struggled with that stuff because he's not an explosive athlete. But it doesn't matter. This is where I think Cohen Carr can really change his season. And tonight was a good sign.
Yeah, he had 4
offensive rebounds.
Disruptive.
Get in there and make things happen with your motor and your athleticism and your strength. He's got all the physical tools in the world to be a problem for people. So we'll hope we see more of that. I would say this was, a mild, half-hearted positive. 33% offensive rebounding rate is decent. 30% is kind of your demarcation. So it's the plus side of that. But it's not where they've been much of the year. And again, this was not a good defensive rebounding team. So you feel like they should have been able to do more.
Well, the one thing that's very encouraging, I mean, obviously the defensive rebounding has been very good, but watching the game today, I mean, everybody's crashing the boards on the defensive end. And not only that, but also getting a break going, just, even with that. And so that has been very good, I think, which is what the big difference we've seen over a couple years ago, where they would sometimes struggle and give up some offensive rebounds to teams that even weren't very good offensive rebounding teams. So that's been good, obviously.
No complaints on the defensive end. And the offensive end has been phenomenal until really the last 2 games. Yeah. That's where I've been disappointed. And these are Big Ten opponents, though. So you want to see a little better. And then again, as I say, both games, they were on the plus side of 30%. And I'm complaining about it. So it tells you where the level of expectation is. But it's also true, to go back to what I just said a moment ago, this is a team that has some offensive issues. So it matters that they produce in that area, because that's something they've proven they can do. They need to do it. They need to do more of it.
Right. All right. So the second key to the game was being offensively aggressive. I think that, 18 free throws, I think they definitely were aggressive. Certainly the second half, a little bit more so. But I think the fact that they were converting 2s, which is generally a sign, I think, of Michigan State being more aggressive offensively than just kind of sitting in the perimeter. I mean, they still shot a lot of 3s, 22, but they just got a lot of shots up too. I mean, they had 38.
But that's not a crazy amount.
Shots. No,
22 is not a crazy amount.
That's I don't know what.
Nebraska was a crazy amount. This was not. Yeah. No, I think it didn't show up at the free throw line. They got USC into the penalty pretty early in both halves. And it was kind of at the point they got USC into the penalty. That's the point they didn't draw as many fouls. I think they were in the penalty with more than 10 minutes to play in the second half, and they didn't shoot a ton of those. But they were still aggressive offensively. We talked about it toward the outset. Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears especially, I loved the way they played this game. That was offensive aggression. That was not settling. And the third key to the game was defend without fouling.
no question they did this. 16 foul shots for USC, a couple and ones, but for the most part, Michigan State really did a good job of limiting the fouling against a team that is number one in the country in drawing fouls. And I don't know what they normally average as far as free throw attempts. I don't think we talked about that, but I got to imagine it's upper 20s, right? And so to get just 16 was a good job by State.
A lot more than that. I just looked. Now, USC is still number one.
Even after this game.
I wondered if that might have changed as a result of this game. It has not. But yeah, MSU was outstanding because they played with physicality, but they didn't foul. They made life very tough on USC offensively to get any good looks, but they didn't foul. That was all really impressive stuff. Now, this is what's interesting. I found this interesting on a couple of levels. Izzo apparently in his pregame, I didn't hear this, I saw a reference to it after the fact, said, I shouldn't say this, but, Chad Baker Mazara is the biggest flopper in the country. And he's right. I mean, he's a flopper, but it is remarkable that he didn't get anything going at the line. I don't think
he didn't really try much. Yeah.
No. And I also find it interesting because, in fairness, and don't get me wrong, I love it, but Izzo's got a guy who can contend for that crown on his roster.
What? So, does he handle the ball a lot? Is that the guy you're talking about?
Yeah, he wears a single-digit number.
We'll leave it to you to figure that out, folks. All right, so the fourth key to the game was transition, and this is something Michigan State has not done great the last couple of games, but today they 25-5 edge there in fast break. They were outstanding. I mean, in some ways, there were a number of times where I thought they could have pushed a little bit more, but either way, you can't be upset with that sort of production.
No, this was really good. This is another thing we talked about on Jack's show this afternoon. I don't think it's any one thing. I think it's sometimes Jeremy hasn't been as consistently aggressive as he was last season. I think maybe that's a function of his playing more minutes than he did last year. That's possible, but whatever it is, that's the reality. I think it's also probably true that having all new guys on the wing opposite Cohen probably is a contributor. They're not running the lane as hard as they need to be. So there's a number of different factors, but it was really good tonight. When you're seeing a team that wants to play fast and you're Michigan State, you got to do this kind of thing. You got to make them pay for that. And they did. 20-point edge in fast break scoring. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And the fifth and final key to the game, Chad Baker Mazara. This is win-win, triple win, whatever you want to say.
We've pretty much said it all. I just took a quick look while we've been talking to see if there was anything. I couldn't find it, at least not yet, as Musselman answering as to why his role was a little more limited. But regardless of the reason, he was a non-factor, and that meant USC was effectively dead in the water.
Yeah. Well, you said if he didn't get a lot of production, that they're not going to have a chance. And he, for a variety of reasons, got no productions, and they were pretty much wiped out. So kind of interesting. So, USC, of course, again, like I said, they're going to be very happy to just get home, get back to Los Angeles. They still have one more stop in Minneapolis. Probably some more snow over there too. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing. I know there's a lot of talk. So we're going through Fanduel still, you look at Final Four chances. You have Michigan at minus 115, which means, you got to bet $100 to win, or bet 115 to get $100. Michigan State, much better odds at plus 750. So I don't know, pretty good value there. And you look at the teams and look at their results with USC, basically the same. Michigan won by 30, 96-66, and Michigan State won by 29, 80-51. I didn't watch the USC game against Michigan. I know you did. I think you watched the whole game there, or some of it. Yeah. What do you think? Is because everyone's always, I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of Michigan State fans, we spend a lot of time focusing on what Michigan's doing, especially at a time when there's a lot of problems with their football program. It's kind of irritating that their basketball program is doing well, even though they're not, filling up their stands. What do you see as the difference in those two teams? I mean, do you see a chasm like lots of fans, or do you not
between Michigan and Michigan State?
Or do you not think that line? Do you think there's a lot of value in that line? I guess I would say for Michigan State fans to jump on.
To get to a Final Four, or is that to win the national
compared to
title?
Michigan? Compared to Michigan, yeah. I mean, just
Yes,
because there looks like a big gap there. Or you look at the odds.
Yeah, but Michigan State's probably still in the top 15 nationally. I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah.
In terms of their odds, so they're still. Look, Michigan, in terms of what leads to those odds, which is really about who you're beating and how much you're beating them by. There's no argument against what they've done so far. Again, I want to see them in a situation like Michigan State was in on Friday. I want to see them in that kind of environment. We haven't seen that yet. They played 2 true road games, and frankly, neither one of them were tough environments. Maryland isn't what it used to be, and TCU is TCU.
Yeah.
But I want to see them in those kind of environments yet. That's where the rubber's going to hit the road for me. I mean, obviously they're going to be, there's almost no way you could imagine them falling off enough that you would say, well, they don't have a chance to be a Final Four team, a very good chance. I think regardless of what happens, they'll be in that mix come March. But are they this dominant? We haven't seen that tested the way it needs to be tested. Come to East Lansing, come to West Lafayette. That's where I don't know whether they go to Champaign or not. I'm not sure whether they go to Lincoln or not. But, get in those kind of games. And then I think we'll have a better idea of whether they truly are separating from the field or whether they are just simply another very good team that's going to have a great chance, but isn't some kind of all-timer level favorite. I'm skeptical on that until we're in March. We got way too long to go. I mean, look, you hate to say, well, I don't hate to say this, it would be hilarious, but what happens if somebody key, like Yaks, for example, gets hurt?
Yeah.
What happens? We're in January.
Oh, yeah. A lot can change.
Early January. Yeah. So for what really matters, which is Michigan State, I would hope that tonight drove at least a little bit of the sad sackism that I saw after the Nebraska game, which, as we talked about, I was frustrated. I was disappointed, but it didn't change the way I view this team very much, if at all.
Yeah.
Nebraska just went on the road and beat Ohio State and Columbus tonight. So they're 4-0 in the league with road wins at Illinois and Ohio State. Now, I don't mean that the win at Ohio State is some kind of proof that you're an unbelievable team, but any road win in the Big Ten is a big deal. Any road win.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 of them now, one of them being a very good one, in my opinion. So that's a real team. And, I talked about this with Jack today. 19 turnovers, and I still felt Michigan State should have won the game.
Yeah, right.
So what does that say about what Michigan State is? Look, we know this isn't a pretty offensive team to watch all the time or most of the time, but I'm telling you this, if you defend and you rebound the way Michigan State does, you're going to have a chance. You're going to have a chance to do some great things. I promise you. So, yeah, do I think Michigan State, would I feel good about if I were putting money down? Would I feel okay about their odds? Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? You can both make the Final Four, and you can, it doesn't mean you have to be national champions, so you don't have to play each other. So they could both be in the Final Four, which would not be totally unheard of. I think it's unlikely, depending on how things go as far as they'd end up in the same region, but we'll see. Just as a note, Michigan does travel to Illinois, almost the third to last game of the season. And then they play at home against Nebraska before they go to Michigan State. Wow. So that's the 27th of January, which now is a break.
That's a break that they don't go to Lincoln with what that crowd will be like, assuming they keep rolling. But at Illinois, at Purdue, at Breslin, hey, long way to go, man.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. A lot of teams to get through.
I've seen a team that had Magic Johnson on it lose 5 games in the league. So you're telling me that this team is going to run the table? Please. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and obviously you don't have to run the table in order to win a national championship or whatever. I mean, but your point, there are a lot of games left, 16 games left in the Big Ten schedule. So Michigan State will be up next against Northwestern at home. So that'll be the last home game before they head back on the road. Things looking pretty good for Michigan State. Northwestern certainly struggling. We'll be back to talk about that in a little bit. Anything else about this last game you want to talk about?
Nope, I think we covered it.
All right, very good. Well, thanks again for everyone who's joining us on YouTube. Again, make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the hype button or whatever it is on YouTube. Show my age here. So until next time, the Final Four's on the schedule. Go Green.